Parker, and welcome to All Things Seniors with Anne Marie. Today I'm here in Bradfield Place, which is my home away from home, and I want to talk to you about how to make our home your loved one's new home. You know, it's really scary for a lot of people to think about moving into senior living and how's mom going to survive there? How is she going to get rid of all the things that she's treasured forever and just be thrown somewhere to the wind? Well, in the real world, those are not logical fears. Those are fears that you have as a daughter or a grandchild or a niece or nephew, because you have this horror picture in your head of what senior living is. And just to illustrate how that is not always the case, I remember when my son was younger, like maybe preschool age younger, and we were visiting my godmother's mom in an assisted living. And whenever we went there, we took him with us, and whenever we left, he said, "Oh my gosh, how old do you have to be to live here? When can I live here?" And that just shows you, in the mind of a child that has never been exposed to a quote-unquote creepy nursing home, that, you know, these places are not scary and they're not awful. And I can tell you here at Bradfield Place, that is definitely not the case. This is warm and caring and comforting. So let's talk about how to make it a home for your loved one. My first tip for you is to sign a lease or a residential agreement before you're ready for them to move in. So many times over the years, I have seen families that show up with movers running around everywhere and the resident on the same day, and that is a recipe for disaster. Whenever you're moving a loved one into senior living, your nervousness is going to radiate out onto them, and all the stress of moving is going to radiate out onto them. You want to set them up for success, and so by setting them up for success, you want them to walk in and see all of their things already perfectly arranged for them, so that the first sight of their new apartment feels already like home. So I did a downsizing video a while back, and I'll link it down below. But in that video, we talk about things like cherry picking. And cherry picking is really important whenever you're moving a loved one to senior living. A lot of times, you know, they haven't had maintenance in their home for decades, and you think, oh my gosh, all their stuff is just terrible. But you know what? There are things in there that are special to them. There are pictures of their wedding, pictures of grandkids, you know, their little rabbit collection, you know, whatever it is, the things that are dear to their heart, you want to move those with them into senior living. You want them to feel as much at home here as they did in their other home. So cherry pick the good stuff. Don't bring a bunch of ratty things up here because they don't need it. You know, bring the things that are dear to them, because that's what they need to feel better. And you definitely don't want them to be in a scenario where they feel yucky about moving in. That'll never work out. It's going to make them sad and stressed, and that's the last thing they need, because it is a big move. It's a big move for them, and it's a big move for you. Another thing to consider is their safety. You're probably moving them to senior living because they're not safe at home. If they were safe at home, you wouldn't be looking to move them out. So think about things like fall risks. You don't want them to be able to slip and slide around on rugs. You know, those things are things you probably want to keep at the old house. But you do want to bring in things that promote their safety, like chairs they can get in and out of really easily, or their favorite bed. You know, it doesn't even have to be the one they're sleeping in. It could be the one in the guest room. You know, whatever it is that they are comfortable working out for themselves, or maybe with a little bit of assistance, those are the things you want to bring in. So set them up for success. Are you seeing the recurring theme here? Another thing you need to consider when setting them up for success is you need to at least pretend like this is the best thing that could have ever happened to them. I know that inside, as a daughter or a son or a grandkid, you're going to be scared. You're going to be scared for them. It's a big move. I understand that. But they don't need to see that fear on you. You know, I remember whenever my baby came along and my mother said, you know, the reason he cries all the time with you and not with me is because he feels that stress on you. I was such a nervous first-time mother, and my mom would come in as the grandmother, the old pro, and he would just snuggle up with her and no crying, no nothing. And then the minute I'd hug him, he'd start crying. And she said, it's because he can feel your stress. And that is 100% true in senior living as well. So they will know if you're nervous. They will know if you're having second thoughts. And I'm sure you will have second thoughts. So don't think you won't. That's normal and that's okay. But present that front to them like, this is the best thing ever. I'm so glad that you're going to get to live in a new, pretty, everything brand new place. It smells so nice here. The food is so great. You really want to talk it up. You don't want to approach them with this and say, oh my goodness, and you're wringing your hands and saying, you know, what are we going to do, Mom? You know, I don't want you to have to go to a place like this. You know, don't do that. You need to help them feel okay about this decision, and you need to include them in it as much as humanly possible. Another thing to consider is the food. And I just need you to know right off the bat that the number one complaint in any senior living scenario, anywhere I have ever seen or been, is the food. And even if the food is fantastic, they will still complain about the food because they're not used to it. They're in a new place. It's the biggest complaint there is, whether or not the food is good or bad. So first of all, whenever they start complaining to you, take that with a grain of salt and know that that is normal and that that's what happens everywhere with everyone. But the second part of that, where we're setting them up for that success, is we want to convey, what do they like to eat? What makes them sick? What is against their religion to eat? You know, all of those factors play in. You know, I have an aunt who can't eat a lot of spicy food. Can you imagine if we brought her in here and the first thing we served her was some Creole dish with blackened fish? You know, she would get sick. And now she hates the food and she hates being here. And all that work you did to make this all okay for her is out the window. So keep these things in mind. Let everyone know what their likes and dislikes are. It's double especially true in assisted living, because in assisted living, it's all about, again, the holistic approach, right? So we do want to get their medicine right, of course, but we also want to know, what time do they like getting up in the morning? Are they an early riser, or do they want to sleep in till 11? You know, all those things are possible in assisted living. You know, it's just the assistance part is the reason they're here, but the rest of the place feels like they're home. So I encourage you to encourage your loved one as you're moving them, to let them know this is going to be the nicest place they've lived in years. Everyone's going to be friendly to them. Everyone is going to be respectful, and everyone is going to appreciate them for where they are in life and what they need right this moment. So I hope that helps you think about it in a way that makes our home their new home. You're not throwing them in a nursing home. You're not throwing Mom into a home. You're moving her to a better place and a better scenario than they had before. I'm Anne Marie. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.